Yeah, what happened was, I didn't know if I would be able, if anyone would remember, but I mean, it's.
Yeah, I remembered it.
What happened was, I'm Chuck, by the way.
Hi, Chuck. Jan.
Hi, Jan. I'm doing a video. I did one part, which is at Roseland, which is where the railroad originally was.
Okay.
In 1975, it comes here.
Oh, that was late.
Yeah, so it was here for until 1992, and then it went to Phillipsburg. Never anything done with it. It was said that it was going to be put into the master plan for the park, and it never was for, I'm guessing for maybe a variety of reasons, probably cost, logistics, because they were talking about maybe connecting different parts of the park where you get on the little.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah, it was. And so you obviously you do remember it.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of cars along that side of the wall.
In here.
Yeah, on the other side of the building. Yep.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay. Yeah, and then what happened was the town of Phillipsburg agreed to take it. They couldn't, because they weren't going to do anything with it here. That's I think what it came down to.
Right.
And so it went there, and that's where it's been ever since. They operated there. You know, it's still in its growing stages in a sense, but.
That's awesome.
Hi, welcome to part 44A on the Lackawanna Cutoff, where we're going to be talking about the Becker Farm Railroad, otherwise known as the Centerville Southwestern Railroad in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Hi, I'm Chuck Walsh, and we're not in Phillipsburg. We're in Lincroft, New Jersey. Now, why are we in Lincroft? Specifically at Thompson Park in Lincroft, New Jersey in Monmouth County. Well, the Centerville and Southwestern, the railroad is going to be here, literally filling up this area here for 17 years, from 1975 to 1992, when it will go to Phillipsburg. But before that, there's a little bit of history to fill in the detail between what we covered in part 44 and what we will be talking about in 44A when we go to Phillipsburg. Now, in 1972, the railroad at Roseland is closed. It started in 1938, closed in 1972, because of the loss of the farm assessment for the farm, the Gene Becker's farm. So what happens is he's now in a position, the farm's got to be sold, but also the railroad, the miniature railroad, the Centerville and Southwestern, the 2-inch scale railroad. So it starts, the sale, if you will, starts in 1973 with the donation, not the sale per se, but the donation of the steam locomotive 1501, which goes to the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. That'll be a big mistake in retrospect, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So, which begs the question: why didn't the 1501 end up with the rest of the railroad
to begin with?
Why do that?
The 1501 is a unique history on its own, and we'll save that for another time, perhaps. The 1501, Gene Becker really didn't want to get it in the hands of anybody who really would mistreat it or mishandle it. So he thought the safest thing for it to be was to go into a museum. And he just wanted to have a peaceful resting place, so to speak, where people could go see it. And the engine being, it was not your regular live steam locomotive. The engine weighs in at 3.5 tons. And it's quite a bit of a machine to handle.
1975, by that time, Mr. Becker has explored different possibilities in terms of donating or selling the railroad. He actually advertised he was going to sell whatever he was going to sell. It was the track, the remaining 2 locomotives, cars, $66,500. There were no takers, fortunately. as a result, he starts reaching out to other places and to see if, well, maybe he can donate it. And well, it turns out that, at least as far as I'm aware, the only place that said yes was Thompson Park, where I am right now, in Monmouth County. So they agreed to take the railroad, and in fact, it gets loaded into here. And here, though, that's the thing. It's one thing for you to have heard about. It's another thing that
No, I saw 'em.
you actually
They
saw.
were really, they were about this high, if I'm remembering correctly.
That's right. That would be right.
And you would just, and I think there were one-seaters, if I'm remembering. It wasn't wide for two, maybe two
No, you
kids.
couldn't. No, it would have been very difficult for.
An adult.
Yeah, yeah, it would have been tight.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That would be interesting to know because Mr. Trunkster's name comes up.
Does it?
Because the reason why, well, it's because he was here, certainly, but one of the people, his name is Keith. Yeah, I don't know what his role was in this coming here, the railroad, because, or if that was something between Mr. Becker and Monmouth County, or the what was the name of the people that the farm?
Marlou Farm.
Marlou Farm.
The Halls ran that.
Oh, the Halls ran Marlou?
Yeah, because I was
Okay.
friends with Cheryl.
Okay. Yeah, Jan knows a lot of the history too because she kind of lived it.
I got a letter from Gene Becker giving me the information on the director and such down in Monmouth County. And I actually went down there for a job interview to see if I could be involved with the park system to help set the railroad up. But at the time they had no vision of being able to set up the railroad. At least I made a contact and I got to know people down at the park. And then some of the signals and a lot of the other spare parts and stuff like that, they were stored in what was horse stalls.
So obviously at one time there were horses here.
Oh, yeah, all these are dedicated to all the horses that raced here and that were in the Belmont and the Kentucky Derby and,
I see Top Flight, that does sound familiar.
yeah, it's a ton. And they had,
And all the railroad, the tracks, the station, the turntable, that was all stored outside. So I have pictures probably taken in the, I'm going to say early 80s or something like that, with all the track all grown over and the station sitting out in the middle of the field.
Still, it was safe.
Yeah.
I think they told us when we were down there picking it up, some of the, if you want to call them park rangers or whoever took care of that park, at least one of them would once in a while go in and try to start two locomotives up and let them run a little bit. That's the only kind of maintenance they got while they sat there.
Amazing thing to think that could, like just about everything else, could have been scattered in every direction. It would have been essentially worthless in pieces, but together you have a railroad again. Now, during that 17 years, there are other things that are going on. By 1985, the steam locomotive is being put up for auction by the Henry Ford Museum. Now, why is that? Well, they argue that it's out of scope, and it's, well, if you think of Ford, you don't think of railroads of any size.
Gene Becker didn't know anything about it till he saw an ad in a magazine. So
What might he have done if he had known about that? What any idea? I know this is asking you to speculate.
well, there are letters written or anything, but when you donate something to a museum, that's then in the hands of the museum. So possibly if you do want to donate something, you may want to look into a loan, because if the museum later didn't want to have it, you might be able to get it back or find another home for it.
So in a sense, that was, in my opinion, a mistake. Obviously, it's easy to say now, retrospectively, that in 1973 it was a mistake to do that, but that's what happens. So in 1985, the railroad goes up for auction. Now, there will be two bidders. The first bidder who will win the auction will be Tom Monahan, who was the head of Domino Pizza. He'll take possession of the locomotive very briefly. The second bidder, who lost by $10,000, the Monahan bid $60,000. The second bidder, $50,000, was Dave Scalvi. And he'll figure into this narrative to some extent as well, as it turns out. But what happens is that Monahan will sell the 1501 very quickly, apparently, because he doesn't have the ownership for very long, and it goes to Gary Coase. And Gary Coase will have the 1501 until 2010, and then that will be sold to the Linfields, who presently have it. They have the 1501 plus the 1500, which is the little diesel locomotive, the red thing. So that covers the 1501. What happens, though, with the rest of the railroad, though, is that it will end up here temporarily. In the meantime, with the loss of the bidding war, it wasn't really a war because Mr. Scalvi didn't believe he was going to be outbidding Tom Monahan. There was no way that was going to happen. So the plan B would be for him to try to create his own 1501. And he'll actually go down to Florida and visit Gene Becker more than once, as far as I'm aware. And he'll actually literally put together, build a 1501. It won't be exactly the same. It's a long story, and I'm not going to get into that. But it is a steam locomotive. But the thing is, his plan was to get it onto a different railroad that he was going to build in Mercer County near Trenton, in the Mercer County Parks, the department or their program. On a piece of land there, he had something like 15,000 feet of track, and it was basically ready. He wanted to basically take the railroad in a sense and then operate it there. The problem with that was that Gene Becker had put in a provision that would have prevented that. Not specifically for Scalvi, but the fact that it had to go to, from here, it would have to go to a municipal or a public entity. I don't know exact wording that they used in the agreement, but basically, Pete Terp finds out, apparently from Scalvi though, that the railroad, this railroad that I'm standing where it would have been at that time, was available.
When the town council in Phillipsburg approved the acquisition of the Centerville and Southwestern, we purchased it for $1. The railroad at that time had been appraised at $1 million, and we were able to acquire its entire assets except for the steam locomotive for that dollar. Our members, because our group was still very young back then, because we were only formed in 1990, this kind of occurred around 94 or 95, that they set to get all of the equipment here to Phillipsburg, and a lot of it ended up in guys' garages just to get it out of Monmouth County, and the rest of it is in our trailers over on the opposite side of the track right now. We started setting up the railroad in the year 2000 with a small demonstration railroad, and each year after that we would add a little more trackage to it as we went. Today the railroad is about 1,500 feet long from end to end. We're working on a couple of expansion projects that have not come to fruition just yet. But the railroad and its entirety will all be rejoined on this side with a project that we've begun to create what we call the Becker Car House. The Becker Car House is a new building. It's basically a pole garage building which we're going to build down at the east end of the complex. Will house all of the equipment that is languishing now in the trailers on the other side. That project is already underway. We've cleared trees, cleared land, we've done some surveying, and we've got a builder in mind already to help build this railroad. So this building will be our major step in acquiring all the equipment here on this side.
So that's how, even though the railroad is here, that's how, basically this plays a vital role because it, I don't say it buys time, but it protects the railroad while there's nothing happening to it, which it will. what will happen to it is it's going to go to Phillipsburg, and well, that's our next stop. But basically, that's that. From there, you will have a different railroad in a sense, but it's the same railroad. It's going to be a different layout. It's a different setup than on the Becker Farm in Roseland, but at least the railroad will be operational, which if you were looking at the railroad in 1972 as it was closed on Labor Day of that year, you would have figured that's the end of the story. That's never going to happen again, and well, that hasn't been the way it worked out. There is a happy ending, and they're planning to expand. But so here we are at the station at Phillipsburg, the Centerville and Southwestern station at Phillipsburg, and we're talking to this gentleman here who I'll have introduce himself.
I'm Asa France. I've been a member here for over 6 years at this point. My grandfather was originally a member here. He worked with the Mack rail bus that's out of sight.
Dedicate a very unique piece of railroad equipment, and this is called a Mack rail bus. It was created for another railroad in Pittsburgh that could not pay for it, and built in 1922. You know that back in those days there weren't a lot of roads for people to be able to travel on to get to work or to get to school. So in this remote little village of Coupletown, this rail bus ran twice a day, once in the morning to take school children and zinc company workers into Palmerton, the big zinc plant. And then it ran again in the afternoon to get everybody home. And it's in excellent condition, physically and mechanically, thanks to the weather. So what we're going to do here is we're going to dedicate the car right now, and we're going to wash it with a little bit of sparkling water, and you can all give us a little.
Shake it first. Shake it.
Yeah, a little bit of a shake.
Shake it. Go ahead. Pop it up.
All right, Izzy, you can have the rest.
And then as I got older, I got a little more involved. I did my Eagle Scout project for this museum. One of the signs that we have I built for my project. And then after that, I decided to get more involved here. I started helping out with operations. I started out as a conductor. That was probably right when I started college. And then last year I got qualified as an engineer on 1502.
Now, I take it then it's not like they just sit you down in there and they point to a couple of controls and say, go ahead, take it away. I assume that there's a lot more involved than that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of check rides. You ride with Glenn a lot, the main mechanical engineer. You ride with him a lot, see how he does it, because he learned from Bob Bennington.
One of our members, who's deceased now, Bob Bennington was his name. He worked for Becker for quite a few years as an engineer. And he ran this one. He liked that one, but he had to run this one once in a while. Says he didn't care for running the steam engine. He didn't like running the steam engine.
How to run the engines and stuff. So we always use him as our benchmark. But it took me quite a while to get qualified on it. Probably almost half a year of like going from not running it at all to like being fully qualified.
We know who you are already, but yeah, you can.
Who I am. So these are the controls of the locomotive. It runs exactly like a actual locomotive. So this is your reverser. Push it forward to go into forward, bring it backwards to go in reverse. This is your throttle. It's spring loaded, and so you have to pull back that handle and then pull it that way to gain more power. Your dashboard, unfortunately, some of the gauges don't work, but you got your engine RPMs, your fuel, your oil pressure, your water temperature, and then your amperage that you're getting from the generator. Then you've got some switches here. The engine on switch, we have it on the other cab, so this one's off right now. Front headlight, rear headlight, marker lights, the dash light, which does work. It shines down onto the dash and the air gauges. And then your start button. This engine, believe it or not, is a push start, which is not a new invention. This is your sander. If you push it forward, it releases the sand on the front set of wheels. If you bring it backwards, it releases the sand on the back wheels. This here is your train brake. This controls all of the brakes on the entire train. And then this is your locomotive brake, which only controls the brakes on the engine itself.
I prefer the guys, it's me and we have 3 other engineers that operate. And I prefer that we all use the train brake because you have more brake shoes to stop the train.
Right.
And the way I run it anyway, if I'm coming to a stop at the station, I'll apply the train brake. And just as the train comes to a stop, then I'll throw on the emergency to put the brakes on the locomotive to hold everything.
This is your bell switch. Unfortunately, that doesn't work right now either, but in the case of which it does, that's how you control the bell. And then you got your gauges, is your air gauge, and then down there, I believe that's your brake cylinder. So, that's all the controls of the locomotive. It's a lot of fun to operate, but as you can see, it's much like a real engine. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, what was your first run like? Were you alone? In other words, and you're sort of like going up in a plane, not maybe quite the same, but going up in a plane when you're the only one in that controls.
It's definitely a little nerve-wracking because, I mean, even though it's a miniature train, you can still do something that could injure someone, unfortunately. So doing it on your own for the first time is definitely a little nerve-wracking, but by the end of it, you're like, okay, I got this. I can do this, you know?
Sort of like learning to drive a car, almost.
You know, the same thing. As you drive it more and more, you become more proficient. You do a lot better with the brakes, pulling into the station, making sure the passengers aren't being thrown around by the slack in the train.
So in other words, you sort of like start to fine tune it to like you go from good to excellent to, well, say perfect, but okay.
Yeah.
So so it's there. Obviously, there's a learning curve and a lot of course, it's experience.
Mm-hmm.
I would think.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a learning curve. But it's not the hardest thing in the world to run, you know. Give yourself a couple months and you'll have it down to a science.
I've seen you inside or running at least a 1502 over here. Do you ever run the 1503?
I've never had the chance to run this engine yet, unfortunately. So long as I've been running, it's been out under maintenance. So I've never had the pleasure of running it, but hopefully in the future, once we have our car house built, we'll start working on this and get it running.
So this is going to sound like a real stupid question, but what's it like running the 1502?
It's a lot of fun, you know. I volunteer at other museums and I've run stuff ranging from trolleys to the rail bus over there. It's a lot of fun because it's just like running a real locomotive in the sense to where you got to watch your train brake and your engine brake. You got to watch how much power you apply, and you really got to manage your power versus brake a lot. But just being in the cab, it's a lot of fun. It's like it feels like you're a kid again down in your basement with your model railroad, but just so much more than that. It's a lot of fun. As I've said plenty.
Now, when you're running it's because we have a blind spot over here. When you go around, you have a conductor who's basically your eyes, I guess you would say, in the back of the train, because you run in one. If you run in this direction, obviously the engine's on the front of the train. Yeah. But if you're running in this direction, westbound, it's in the back of the train.
Yeah.
What are the challenges with doing that?
So it's just the same as if you were running a train in real life with a conductor on the rear. You're following his hand signals, pull forward, this means slow down, that means stop. So just following his hand signals, you just got to make sure you're watching your speed. And then we also have people around the corner at the crossing giving signals to the conductor himself, because it's a blind spot for him too. So we've got to coordinate between the conductor and the spotter, and then the conductor and the engineer. It's just following their hand signals. And if we ever need to, we got radios. And there is a dump valve on the rear car, just like a real train. So if you pull that, all the air bleeds out and the train stops.
So in other words, if there's I'll call it an emergency stop for some reason, some kid runs across or whatever, something like that, you could stop the train.
Yeah, the conductor can dump the emergency valve, and then I can dump the air from the engine as well.
Now, do you get like the sense I mean, there's no one in the train right now, but when you get the people in the train, what kind of reaction do you think you're getting from what I think that most of the people enjoy riding it, but is it sort of like what kind of energy, I guess, is what I'm looking for, what that you're getting from the people who are riding?
There's a lot of people laughing. I notice a lot of joy. There's a lot of cheering. A lot of people like to take pictures and stuff. But whenever we get back to the station, they say, that was a lot more fun than it looks. You know, it's just a small little train, but as soon as you get on, it's like, you know, got all the wind in your face. You feel like you're going so fast because you're so low to the ground, but really just everyone has such a great time on it.
Now on the other side, you get to go. I don't know where do you get to go the fastest? I know you're not going real fast, but
so the fast stretch is at that far end of the line is like the straightest part of the line. So when we get going from a stop there, we can get up to a pretty good clip. And then once you're through the station here, up through there to the car shop, that's another straight stretch you can get up to a good speed there.
now I rode this back in the day, back in Roseland. So did Mike, as a matter of fact. Although, Mike, you were knee-high to a grasshopper at that point. What kind of stories, I don't know, did people tell you stories about? Did you run into people who actually rode it back then?
Yeah, I've ran into a ton of people who rode it back then. I even met one of the old engineers. I can't remember his name, unfortunately.
Not Bob Bennington, right?
No, not Bob Bennington.
Oh,
I wasn't here yet.
Jay?
Yes, it was Jay. I talked with Jay and like all the stories that he had of running the equipment and all the little kinks that he would run into in daily operation.
And he ran the 1501 too.
He ran everything. He ran everything. So, I mean, and he ran the 1502 a good bit. So, I mean, just all the stories that he had. And it was really nice hearing that because it helps us to run the engine as Becker used to run it and run it the proper way.
Now, I have a special attachment to the 1503, and I always thought it was a long story, but I put it into the previous video, that now the 1503, I understand, is in the pecking order is less powerful than the 1502?
Yes.
It is, okay. The reason why I say that is because I've told this story. I'm not going to tell the story now. I tell it in the video. And I thought it was 1500, which was the little tiny thing that was there briefly while I was still riding back in the day. But we looked at the video, and it was actually the 1503, which couldn't make it up the hill in Roseland. And we had to back up. We backed up once into the yard, and then we didn't make it again. We make it a little further, but no, we didn't make it. So we back up only literally into the back of the yard at Centerville, and then just let it go, and we made it to the top. But that's my special attachment to the 1503.
See, the funny thing about that is that we have the same issue here. There's a hill between the station here and the car shop that it'll make it. Like if you start from here and go that way with a full train, it'll make it, but it's really, really slow. So when this was running, we would always back it up first and then get a running start to the other end of the line.
That's interesting. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like the same as it was as Becker, you know. It's even if we had this full train, I guarantee you we'd have to back it up.
The whole grade system, Big Pen Hill, was all regraded when they were doing the other modifications. And a lot of that was, I think, Gene Becker wanted to lower the grade a little bit to make it easier on the 1503 and the other trains. So they eliminated the 3.5% grade.
So do you know what that came down to?
It was still pretty steep, but going up the hill, they actually made a cut. And there are certain pictures you can see the old grade and the new grade is lower. And they swung out a little bit further before they came back to go in the horseshoe curve. So
I don't remember that, although I did ride it in '69, so I remember going to Paradise Valley, but I don't remember that change. But maybe I just don't know. But I know I've heard about that there was that realignment.
Yeah, well, because Big Pen siding was eliminated. It then became Summit siding. Just like Plains siding was eliminated, it So if you had to do the map comparisons.
That explains
So
it.
there were name changes. So towards with the Paradise Valley ride, there was no pigment siding. There was no pigment.
Get all your shots.
It might have been still called pigment. It was now summit siding. And
That's what someone said, because I was trying to figure
and
out.
the plain siding was moved further out the line, and was actually far on
It was on a curve, yeah, because it was the planes was on a tangent.
Great, yeah.
Okay. Now I understand, because I saw it was being used. Summit was. I thought it was being used interchangeably. But what you're saying is it wasn't the same.
No,
It wasn't.
it was when they did a realignment of the whole hill, they moved the siding.
Okay.
I guarantee you, we'd have to back it up before we would go that way.
Wow, I didn't expect to hear that, but that's really interesting. Yeah, because anyway, because I actually have video of that, but of them backing the train down because we couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that the good old 1503 is still up to its old tricks.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're starting to fill up. What's your schedule here today? Because this is not necessarily, you're not running on a strict schedule.
So, I mean, we run whenever we get people for the train. We'll run it with 2 people in the whole train. Like, if there's no one else around, we'll give them a ride. Typically, if we don't have a lot of people waiting on the platform, we'll do a double run. So instead of just doing the one run and pulling back in, we'll just keep going for a second one. But it's basically, as people come in, we fill up the train, we go, and then we go through that throughout the day.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to keep you, but this is. I'm glad we got a chance to talk to you. Your hat, I know we in the previous video we talked to your conductor Michael Lachicki, and he explained that the hat. Now I don't know. Do you have? Does the hat have any kind of special meaning? And
I mean, this one specifically, no. I got this from a group that is restoring the Lehigh New England S2 Alco locomotive. So I just kind of bought this because it's cool, But the Beckers, they had the all-white hats that Michael's actually wearing today. And it's funny because the Lehigh New England itself, their hats were all white. And so were some of the other anthracite railroads in the area. So I kind of wonder if he got the idea for full white hats from them.
I wonder that because when I mentioned that, I keep mentioning the previous video, but I mentioned that whether it was like a Phoebe Snow type of thing, the road of anthracite, your Phoebe Snow arrives still white as snow. But the other aspect, which I've heard mentioned as a possible explanation, at least specific to this railroad, is the dairy.
Oh yeah, because of the milk. Yeah.
But I guess you could say you can make an argument in favor of either, that it could be for either reason.
Yeah.
But especially for the Lehigh New England, I would think I don't know if they carried milk. They may have at some point, but
probably somewhere.
But it may have been also because of I don't know if they burned anthracite or early. They did. They did. So maybe that. I don't know. That's a guess. I don't know. But so in any case, well. We'll be seeing more of you because we'll be riding at some point. I'm tempted whether we want to do that now or not. I don't know. Yeah. And we're also going to be following you with a drone.
Oh, okay.
So
nice.
if you hear a buzzing about, I don't know if with the engine you'll be able to hear that, but we're going to be following. We kind of figure that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir, and you'll be seeing us. We'll be watching you.
All right.
Well, thanks very much.
Yes, thank you.
Tickets I can do.
Okay, and this gentleman, do you want to get your ticket now, or?
Yes, I do. I'm going to put my donation in there because I wrote it when I was 4.
Wow, that's been a while.
Yes.
So what do you do here? Obviously, you stamp the ticket with the current date, but what are your responsibilities?
Seeing that everybody has a ticket who goes on, and I keep an eye on the platform. So if somebody is doing something they shouldn't, I remind them.
Now, you want them to keep off the tracks, of course. That would be one thing, but
Keeping off the tracks and climbing on equipment that they shouldn't be climbing on.
I see. Well, I mean, is that a problem with the little kids or big kids?
Both. But we have to look after the little kids because sometimes the parents do not. So they figure this is a safe place. Little did I know.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, yes, there is a certain degree of danger. Well, thank you. I thought we were just interested to know what you were doing. And we got 2 trains coming. It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. I remember hearing about this railroad, well, that road.
He's excited about everything.
Puts out a good amount of heat. What's the horsepower on it, you know?
On this, I'm not sure, honestly.
Let's say 50.
Yeah, 50. That's good.
You need to stop.
Where do you want to ride?
Yellow?
Okay. How are we going to do this? Think we can do this, or do you have to?
I'm probably going to have to squish somewhere, yeah.
How do you?
All right. We will do it.
We're going to be in close quarters here.
That's all right. Well, that was your lens cap.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't think we can fit in the same one. I'm good. I'm going to try to film one more.
All right, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Everything's the same.
So I'm taking you, and you're taking.
You don't need to. I mean, if you want, you know. I'll give you this camera later.
This is you. It's been a lot longer since you've been on this than I've been on it.
True. I was probably 3 or 4, maybe 5. I don't know. It's been a long time. So let's say 50, 53 years.
Well, if you were born in '68, you couldn't have been older than 4 because this closed in '72.
I don't remember the year. My mom has passed, so I can't ask, and I don't think I have any pictures that I can put hands on. So I'll have to dig through the photo album.
Well, but at least you have the memory of knowing that you were here. I mean, that's it's one thing to actually have the proof, which is ideal, but
yeah, I'll have to search through the archives of see what I can. I remember. I remember this was the only little train I was ever on. That and Point Pleasant, which was an amusement grade, at the beach. Those were the only 2 little trains I went on. All the other one were in East Hanover, where they have the fake gunfighters and the horse riders that kind of rob the train, and kind of as little kids, it's a big deal for you. But this was the first one that I was on.
and I think I've done both of those because I do remember the train on the beach in the sand and all that. and I think I've been on at least one or maybe more different railroads where the cowboys and Indians hit, but I think Becker specifically didn't like that. He thought that was kind of rinky-dink. Maybe back in the day. So now we get to ride.
Here we go. Riding backwards.
I'll ride backwards. That's fine.
That's all. Don't fall out.
Well, as long as we don't push too hard against these doors. The railroad was cut back. It actually went a bit further than this, but now they're doing construction down here.
They don't have light. I don't know.
Film the ungraceful extraction from the car seat. I know it's going to look.
That'll be the comic relief.
That's right.
Yeah, I bet you that was sticking.
It was stuck.
Yeah, it's cold.
What is that?
That's a brake shoe for the cars. Cast iron brake shoes for car wheels.
Are those pretty easy to replace?
No.
No, really? Oh.
Pretty easy to change, but not to get
Oh,
new ones.
to get new ones, okay. The
Okay.
changing the part was...
You don't go to Napa and buy these.
Yeah.
I said he had all these casted up.
Do you have extras by any chance?
We do have extras. Keith had some that he brought up to get us going.
Because you folks aren't running the trains that much, but...
No, not every weekend like, or every Saturday like Becker was, but they still wear out. I mean, a little bit that we do run it, a lot of them are getting worn down. Over in the trailers, our storage trailers across the rack, across the track there, that's where we have the remainder of the cars are in there stored, plus everything else that came with the railroad, which is all the signals and signal equipment, the relay boxes, signal bridge, crossing gates, plus all the repair parts that he had, which there are more brake shoes over there, there's more wheel sets, there's more of everything over there as far as repair parts go.
So you're not in danger of running out at this point, but...
Not yet, no.
But at some point, you know,
Yep.
long enough into the future, maybe that might become an issue, or...
Somebody else's problem. I'll be around. And then down here, I can show you, we have he made it up, had it in his yard, back by the turntable where he had the turntable set up. It was a double slip switch that he put together.
Oh, okay, okay.
Down there underneath those tins. It's confusing to look at it. Let's go down and take a look at it.
Okay.
Well, that's the main part of it. What it does, it goes between two tracks and you can go 4 different ways. One track this way, or eastbound or westbound, or whichever way you're going. Just by throwing one of two switch stations.
It's never easy. Well, at least it's cranking now.
We're running eastbound, coming up through past the coal pockets. It's a 1.5% grade.
Oh, so it isn't flat at all. Oh, okay.
And that one doesn't mind. That one's got enough power, it don't care what the grade is. This one here, however, you can know that you're on a 1.5% grade. And sometimes if you're starting out with a full train of people, you actually have to back up, bunch up slack to get the train moving.
Now this locomotive is the one that's under, or would be,
Needs repair.
needs repair. So it's not really, I would say, operational, or not, it's not being used for operation at this point.
No, we haven't used it in quite a few years. Once, we had both of them, so we just got that one out of storage, and I got it going, and we've been using that one.
Hey Bob, that way is on with the fuel, right?
Lefty loosey, righty tighty.
Yep. What?
Is it pumping?
Is it pumping? I almost got it started.
He was telling a story one time when this train had a full train of cars and the steam engine had a full train of cars. Something happened to the steam engine out on the road. Bob had to go out with this in his train, hook onto the steam engine, and pull everything back to the station. So this thing's capable of pulling everything that we got.
Wow.
No problem. He said it weighs 6,000 pounds. It is a little slippery when you're starting out. It will slip the wheels when you're starting out. Once you get going, it goes. In fact, Bob was telling another story. Gene was building the 1503, working on it over the summer or the winter or whatever, and he was designing the body for it. He actually made up a wooden mock-up of the body. Little strips of wood and plywood and stuff, made the whole body up. He called up Bob Bennington one day. He says, Bob, he says, come over here. He said, I need you for a minute. So Bob went over, and Gene, as he was building this, had this wooden mock-up, and he had a milk crate sitting in there for the seat. And he says, get in there and sit there wherever you're comfortable. Move that front and back wherever you're comfortable. He says, because that's where the seat's going to go. So this was, you could say, was built around Bob Bennington, 1503.
Oh, okay.
So the scene here has changed a great deal. Originally, if you could follow along where the track ends off here to the right, it used to continue down past those timbers, down to the trees, but we had to cut back about 112 feet of the railroad in order to find space to put one of our green storage containers, which will sit atop those ties. You might be interested in looking at the old Jersey Central concrete yard office slab here. Our second project at the end of the summer was to clean up the concrete slab and get all of the track parts all organized. You can see there are 3 different piles of track panels. You'll see that there's a pair of turnouts over on the left-hand side, and you'll see there's a fairly large amount of loose rail in the middle, which will probably be the rail that we'll use inside the new Becker building once that's done. But this was the original Jersey Central yard office, and the slab remained after Conrail, when they first took over the Eastern railroads. They actually burned the building down because they didn't need it anymore. So the slab remains, and it's useful in the sense that we can use it for inventory. And as I say, over here to the right, one of the green containers will sit right here, stored. There'll be some storage space for some of the parts that are inside our car shop right now, and then the other green container will have the rest of the CNS cars that might be in dead storage. We anticipate that there's probably going to be a handful of cars over on the other side that have not done a good job weathering over the years because they've been inside there, and one of the roofs leaks on one of the cars. One of the skylights has fallen in, so some of those cars may not be roadworthy at some point, so they'll be in dead storage inside one of the trailers here. But most of the usable cars that can get some tender loving care will be inside the new Becker building once we get that built.
So how much track do you have out right now that is part of the experience of riding the CNS at this point?
What do you think, Glenn? About 1,570 feet or so?
About a third of a mile.
Third of a mile, yeah. That's about right. What I typically do, and I enjoy doing it, is I take care of track maintenance on the CNS, except when we get to something that's difficult and I need some help. But changing out ties, leveling the track, making sure the bolts are tightened at the rail joints, tamping, a little bit of tamping is what I typically do from early March once the weather breaks, that I can get out here comfortably and sit and work. It's kind of like going fishing. It's very relaxing. I typically will take 3 or 4 sections of the railroad and zero in on one section each year and change out the ties. I believe the middle section of the railroad, which I worked on this year 2024, I believe I probably changed out about 24 or 25 ties. So they do require changing out. It's a miracle that so many of Becker's ties continue to work for us when you consider the years that they've been idled and not being in operation, and here we are, we're still using them. So we're very fortunate that Becker did very well with what he purchased for ties.
But even so, in terms of what are you talking about, like every 10th tie or every 20th tie? You're not talking about a large a major type of work.
Right, they're spaced out. Occasionally I might find a spot where there's 3 or so that need to be replaced at one shot. But Glenn has always taught me over the years that you don't want to take any one particular section and change too much of it. It's best to change every 3rd or 4th tie if you can get away with that. The only time that I've had to change out a whole bunch at one time is in some of the earlier sections that we built where the ties were rotting out, and you could see that moss was growing up inside the cracks, so I know the tie had no structure to it anymore. Then I take the exception, but typically I listen to Glenn when it comes to how we put in a new tie and where we put them in. But if we go so many feet, let's say we go about 250 to 400 feet each year, I'll generally find anywhere from 15 to 125 ties that have to be changed out. As the years go and as I replace them, I see that the ones that I've put in are holding up very well. So it's not like an emergency repair. We've had a couple of washouts. We've had a couple of gopher problems, groundhog problems, which end up becoming like these little sags in the rail or a little bit of hole that falls out through the bottom. Then we have to fill it up with ballast. We still have a significant pile of track ballast here that we can tap into if we need to do any quick emergency repairs. That's pretty much how we do the track maintenance.
Now, what about the track itself? I know that there's, I'll call it the original track from when they first laid the railroad in Roseland, and then there's track also that is newer that was put in what, 68, I guess it would have been. Can you tell the difference between that? I assume you have possession of all that? You do, okay.
I cannot see any physical difference from one section to another. They've all gently aged the same way.
They were all stacked outside naturally down in Monmouth County, so a lot of them didn't weather very well. A lot of the rail got pretty well rusted and stuff. Most of it's usable.
I mean, what would make it not usable? I mean, does rust? I think of most track is if you leave it out, it'll just rust, but it...
Well, a lot of it is pitted. You got deep pits into it.
Oh, okay. Now that's because of weather, or
yeah, the way it was stacked, and then outside, I imagine leaves landed onto it and stayed there and kept everything wet.
Oh, okay. So track is not indestructible then. Now, what about this stuff that's like you were talking about being with leaves and stuff? This stuff is sitting and...
Yeah, I know, it's sitting there. These are some turnout switches that are stacked up there.
Are they going to be okay? I mean, there's...
Yeah, okay. The main thing is to keep the rail standing up. There's a lot of the loose rail that was down at Mama that was just laid on the ground and it was laying sideways.
Oh, okay.
So when it's laying sideways, the water just puddles up in the web of the rail.
Ah, okay.
If it's standing the way it's supposed to be, the water sheds off.
Okay.
I believe most of the railroad's been laid with 12-pound rail.
8 pound.
8-pound rail?
8-pound rail.
8-pound rail.
8 pound means a yard, 3-foot length of rail weighs 8 pounds. It's a mined rail, using mines.
We were doing a calculation on Monday when we were in Roseland, and I asked the question, well, how long are the lengths of rail? And I was told 30 feet. So if it's 30 feet and that's 10 yards, that means 8 feet, so that's 80 feet, so 80 pounds. So those things, a length of rail is actually 80 pounds.
You get, because we laid all the track in panels, most of it anyway. Occasionally, what we did, we stagger the rail joints so that you get a better ride quality with people rather than have the joints humped up together like this. We try to stagger them like the railroads used to do when they used jointed rail.
How do you do that? Because if they're spiked or connected to the to the ties.
If they're not spiked, you got 1/4-inch lag bolts that hold the rail to the ties. And you just have to loosen up one side, tap it with a hammer, and slide it through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the same with curves too. Like we have to take a spring track pedal and create a curve. It's the same thing like Len says. You loosen up on the bolts a little bit, and then you start to bend the track almost like you would on an HO railroad if you're using flex track. Just that it's a little harder to do. But that's how we create curves. But it's important, I think, to stagger the joints for the ride quality, and it looks better too on the railroad when you're looking at admiring the track.
15, 20, and 30 foot lengths.
Oh, why would they have done that?
To have different lengths.
Oh, okay.
As far as staggering the joints goes, building a railroad, if you're going around curves, the joints are eventually going to stagger themselves anyway. the inside curb. Inside rail is going to be a different length than the outside.
It's going to, right, they're not exactly going to stay the same in proportion to each other.
And of course, you know, we have enough ballast that if I have to fill in a hole, I've got the element of a 5-gallon pail and a 20 jug light that will bring ballast over to where I'm going to use it, put it in, and we have a tamping bar that I can use to tamp it in. Some of the areas that we work in look like they go all the way down to China because you put ballast in and it just keeps going. It just keeps going down, so you just keep filling it up. Some of those groundhog holes that have emerged because we've had such a proliferation of groundhogs on this property requires us to take a good look at the track before we run the train. And every time we have an open house that we're going to run trains on during the day, what I'll typically do or have one or two of my other track or train crew do is to walk the track and do a visual track inspection before we operate, because when we're down here at this end we have sometimes twigs and branches falling down from windstorms. Also just a general overlook at how the track is appearing before we run our first train for the day. Then we'll take the train out and do 1 or 2 round trips back and forth all the way through to make sure everything is safe. I keep an index card log of all track maintenance that's done on the Centerville and Southwestern. I've done it from day one since we began operating on a regular basis and being regulated by the state of New Jersey as a tourist train or even amusement park train. We have to be regulated. We get inspected every year at least once. Inspector comes out, takes a ride, looks at the track, looks at the equipment. Glenn has access to all repairs and maintenance done on the cars, and I have access to what I've created in the card system with all the track maintenance I do as well. So we try to keep it as safe as we can. We run the train, we have 2-way radios, the conductor's got a radio, the engineers have a radio, the ticket office has a radio, the crossing guards often have a radio, and the gift shop manager has a radio. So we're all in communication with each other during the course of the day and keep everything safe, or if there's any special requests, we can take care of that.
Does the locomotive have a speedometer? I've always been curious about that.
Does the 1502 have a speedometer?
No, speedometer.
Just go like hell.
It's got a tachometer but no speedometer.
So you have to more or less guess at what your speed is.
You just run it at a comfortable speed.
Okay.
It's probably 15 mile an hour is the fastest we go.
You get the benefit of the clickety-clack. Like an old-fashioned train ride, that's one of the nicest parts of it. Most railroads are rivet rail now, and you don't get that old aspect of clickety-clack. But you ride the CNS, you get plenty of clickety-clack. We just put in a whole new set of seat cushions inside the cars, which we'll show you inside when we go in, that have contributed to the comfort for the passengers, that they're not sitting on a piece of wood, that they're now sitting on a nice inch and a half thick cushion. So it just makes a nicer ride and gives them a little bit of a taller boost in the car as well.
Is there any chance that it would ever operate again?
Unfortunately, with today's standards, I would actually hate to see the engine put back into service, because then you have to destroy the historic fabric that Gene Becker put it away as. Because to have to do the whole boiler survey, do any mechanical work,
you need to take it all apart.
You'd have to take it all apart, and I hate seeing, there's so many full-size locomotive that have been taken apart across the country without a full plan, and they've
Never
still
put
apart.
back together again.
So I would hate to see that happen to the 1501. But there is a solution to build a new 1501 or build a 1505. So,
Is there anything, I wouldn't say in the works, but is there, obviously, this isn't the first time this has come up then.
no. I had the opportunity in probably one of Gene Becker's farm sales where he was going to let all the wooden patterns that were used to create the 1501 be sold off as antiques and curiosities. I took it upon myself to approach Mr. Becker and asked him what he wanted to do to be able to keep them all together. So I have been the caretaker of all the patterns and plans for the 1501 for so many years now. So,
does there exist any place that would be capable of building such an engine, you think?
oh yes. Oh. Yeah. But time and money. So.
Right, but still, that's an interesting point. The turntable, what happened to the turntable?
Turntable's out of Phillipsburg.
Okay, so if you were to get a 1505, you would have a way to turn it.
Yeah.
Except we don't have the cannonballs or whatever it turned on, right?
No, but we can get bearings.
So what is the, I'll say the vision for the future? Because the railroad, as I understand, and I was just down there a week or two ago now, and my understanding is that the plan is to expand the present operation with permission from Norfolk Southern and so forth. But the plan would be to have almost like to create another loop, and maybe at some point, a loop track.
Michael's probably been more involved in that than I have lately. So
yeah, I've talked with the people sort of who have those ideas. There's a couple. It's going to happen in a couple of. If it happens, it will happen in a couple of phases. And so the only phase that's absolutely certain is phase 1, in which case we'd extend the railroad to the other side of the Black Bridge over South Main Street, which even that on its own almost doubles the length of the present operation, I think. Beyond that, there's sort of ideas to have it curve west, go to where the Lehigh Valley Railroad signal bridge used to be, into the woods there. I think the idea is to put the loop there, but I know that Pat and Glenn walked through the Mount Parnassus Cut, which is this really dramatic, huge rock cut in Phillipsburg, a couple hundred feet long, and they were saying, wouldn't it be neat to put the railroad through here? How far we go depends on how much track we have, which nobody's done an official tally of, in theory we should have all 7,000 feet of track, but nobody's done an official tally of all the rail material. So it depends on how much track there is.
Would you get more, do you think, if it really had to?
8-pound rail is pretty rare to find.
It comes up occasionally.
It comes up.
Yeah.
And we have our own ties. I mean, we use telephone poles. We mill them to the correct size for ties, and they're already treated, so the ties aren't a problem.
We're here at the end of track, what is the present end of track for the Centerville and Southwestern and Phillipsburg. You can see there's more track, which presumably is ready to go to extend the railroad beyond here. The Phillipsburg group, the Phillipsburg Railroad Historians, have gotten the okay from New Jersey Transit to extend from here, but they're waiting for Norfolk Southern to give their approval, and they have not yet gotten that. And with the possibility of a merger with the Union Pacific, I don't know, I wouldn't hold my breath on that. But in any case, at some point the hope is to be able to extend the railroad from here at least to the Black Bridge, which you can see over there. To orient you, in some of our videos we talk about the line that went down to Phillipsburg. Well, here's the line that goes down to Phillipsburg on the other side here. This is the main line, well, Norfolk Southern's main line, but it was the former Central Railroad New Jersey main line. And they intersect just on the other side. That's PU Tower, and then there's a Black Bridge, and then there's a Union Station, and then there's the junction between the two lines on the other side of the bridge. Anyway, what the proposal is to extend this to at least the Black Bridge and potentially maybe pretty close to the Delaware River, which is on the other side. Mount Parnassus, which has been talked about, is, if memory serves, off to the left and is a big cut. That would be really a spectacular thing to do if they were to do that, but that's down the road, to say the least, at this point. So my gut feeling is that even though this track is up here, it's going to have to somehow angle so that it comes down to the level of this roadway, if you want to call it that, so it can go underneath the bridge. Up here, it not only would there have to be excavation and you have trees and all that, but the other problem is that you have the Black Bridge, so they're going to have to somehow get under, so they'd have to come down somehow to the level of the roadway. I don't know if they would maybe realign down this way, I don't know. Anyway, these are details that will be worked out at some point, hopefully worked out, and we'll see. This would significantly increase the length of the ride, which right now they go as far as they can in that direction. Now it's a question of how far can they go in this direction. Obviously the river would be as far as they could go, but the river would be really a pretty good place to go to if in fact they can do that. We'll see. I mean, this is one thing that they're working on, and obviously they have other things that they're working on as well, but extending the railroad certainly would make this on what is a linear park or linear piece of property that they have here. So, which it does allow them to run back and forth, but the thing is there is a limit. So that's pretty much where things stand right now. This is not going to happen immediately, certainly. So this is going to be end of track for a while, I suspect. But hopefully at some point they'll be able to use this track, and they certainly have the track. They can definitely extend beyond, and we'll see how far they'll be able to go. It could be really exciting to see them run. Not that this is ever going to really match the Becker Farm in Roseland experience. It's going to always be a different one, but if they can get to the river, that's certainly, I think, be a real big plus, and certainly would make this an extra special ride if they were able to do that.
He had school trips for kids. He had probably scout trips. I mean, we've done stuff like that too. We've done scout trips. We've done Bible trains. We've done birthday charters here. People can, do a birthday party train, and they offer us a donation. We don't charge anything specifically for a birthday charter. The Bible train, we did it as a gratis thing. Boy Scouts, other groups, we've had the Lehigh Valley chapter do their annual convention here one Saturday a few years back. We can find enough things to do around here for people that if they feel they've had enough of a train ride, that there's other things close by that they can do that will keep a day quite filled up with railroad activity. But we like to do the charters because we kind of cater the way we operate the train the way they would like to have it. They arrive, they see the excitement of a train. One event that comes to mind to me was the Bible train that we did on a Friday night about, 4 years ago maybe. I think might have been before COVID. That we agreed with one of the local churches in town that we were going to run the Bible train for them, free of charge, of course, as it always is. And we were waiting down there by the picnic grove with the train in the grass waiting for them, and the time passed, came and went, and nobody was coming. And then we'd see a couple of cars trickle in, and then all of a sudden, after we had looked at each other and thought, well, this is a bust, all of a sudden, like a herd of wild horses, the cars started pulling in here like crazy, and within 5 minutes, we had probably 75 to 100 people swarming around the train. And but that was the thing, you know, the thrill of riding a small train. I think that even today, the people that ride it today are of similar persuasion. Come out to Phillipsburg from wherever you are. We've had people come from really far away. We've had people from Japan, Canada, other places that escape my mind at the moment, but people have come out to ride the train and have an enjoyable afternoon. Some of the people even say that this is the superior train ride in town because it's an open air train, you know what I mean? And it's free, and there's no pressure to ride, and you don't have to wait a long time to ride. And then you've got other things. You come in here, come into the museum building and take a look at all the things we have here. So I think that our patronage. I think what I wanted to say before too was it took a long time for us to really score big with people finding us, because we had the disadvantage of being in the back of a main road, like in an alleyway, and that was a little bit hard to overcome in the early years, because who would find us back here? Even now, every once in a while, someone will come, and I like to greet people when their tickets are being collected at the platform, and I'll say, hey, is this your first time here? And someone will say, yeah, we didn't know you were back here. And that's the whole thing. The media blitz, trying to get, when we were a little bit lean on funds in our early years, trying to find free media to get the word out that we're back here. Once you establish that that beginning of people noticing where you are, then you see it start to snowball. The snowball effect comes in. It gets better and better as you go. And today, in 2024, we have no problem finding people. We advertise in the Rail Pace magazine. We have a color ad in there every month. We are found in other publications as well. We're in the Trains magazine directory of summer tourist attractions, rail. We have been on WFMZ TV. We've had reporters here taking pictures and putting us on the 6 p.m. news. So we're doing okay, and it's getting better. It gets better as we go. Trophy, so to speak, you know. But his brother would not agree to it. The directors said we would pay if he was going to get a U-Haul truck and he was going to bring it one way. We would pay half the expenses just to have it here for an event where people could actually see it. But the other brother was not in agreement. He wouldn't allow it. They're very possessive of the engine, so we don't have it. But have most everything else, you know, and someday we'll have it all on this side of the tracks, you know, so we can use it here. But there's a lot of people that come here that were young back in the 60s, 50s, like we were, and they somehow, with their travels, found us here through word of mouth or possibly media, and they now come here as grandparents, and they bring their grandchildren here and their children here, and they're elated. I don't think there's the 2 open houses go by where someone doesn't come here and say, this is the first I've seen it since I was in Roseland, because so many years have passed by, you know. And they're happy to ride it. I mean, we can't duplicate the size of the ride like it was in Roseland, but we're trying. I mean, we're trying to get some more permission to use some more land to build. But for now, we're happy with what we have, and the stability of being here and knowing that it's going to stay here. It's not going to go anywhere. Train is carefully maintained. We're taken care of, and the town is sympathetic to us with how we handle it. So there's no problem there with that. I'm thinking now going back to the patrons that ride the train, and my ticket agent Ann told me that when we just had the last Train Fest on September 14th, that we handled 482 passengers, and that were single ticket riders, many of which got back on the train and rode it again. We've had little kids throw huge tantrums when their parents try to take them off the train and and just start stomping and crying and screaming and want to ride a second time. Had a little boy on the train. We had a little infant on the train that was only like a month old. This last event, we had 3 dogs ride the train. We've had cats ride the train. There's no ending. Although we don't claim to be ADA compliant, we have the ability to put a person that can't get on the train on their own onto the train right here at the crossing. We had a gentleman, a veteran here, that has one of those, what do you call those motorized chairs you drive in?
Scooter, I don't know.
Scooter, come back here and stand at a distance watching the train. I knew he wanted to get on the train, so what we did was we had him come over to the crossing here, and we lifted him up directly from his scooter right into the car, and he got to ride the train just as much as he wanted, you know. So we have it's generational. This is a generational thing. A generation of riders that have a great propensity to ride Centerville and Southwestern or to find. Just a minute about Pauline. After Gene died, they had come here. What year was that? 2001.
2001.
2001. They were here, and
Sorry, I told it.
it was a well-kept secret until they were here, and then I see these 2 people standing at the edge of the wall here, and I just knew it. I just knew it. And my legs started to tremble because I'm thinking, oh my God, that's the Beckers. It's the Beckers, you know. But a lot of people showed up that day. But he unfortunately passed away in April the following year. They had gone out to dinner one night, and they come home from dinner. He sat down in his comfortable chair, and in a matter of moments he was gone, just like that. But she was a wonderful person to talk to. I had kept her abreast of everything we were doing. She was a great supporter of the group. I sent her newsletters, and I asked her if I could send her a couple of our banquet videos that show everything that we do. And she said, well, I don't have anything to play it on. So I sent her a DVD player along with about 4 or 5 of our banquet videos so that she would have something to see. And her lady caretaker, who continues to this day to get our newsletter, because she's interested in the Centerville and Southwestern, but she's in Florida. She had this desire to see everything, and when we sent the DVD down with 4 of the banquet videos, the next time I called up Mrs. Becker, she said, oh my goodness, she said, I had the lady play them back to me over and over. I just needed to see what you wonderful people have done over the years. So she always maintained that interest, but I always thought it was important to keep her up to date on stuff, so I would call her. And physically she was deteriorating as the years went on. Her eyesight got real bad. Her ability to maneuver around was very much compromised. So she enjoyed the phone calls. I loved talking to her. I almost felt like I was talking to my grandmother sometimes, because we would just discuss everything that had to do with this town. And unfortunately, you know, at age 100, I lost touch with her because she was unable to communicate, and then she passed away at age 101. So we had a good conversation with her over the years. We got so much stuff that people have saved over the years.
They're insulated porch boxes.
Yeah, the ones on the left. insulated boxes.
Yeah, the metal boxes, that's what you was talking about, the insulated?
I remember the metal boxes where it had the.
Right there.
Oh, these, yes, of course. Yeah. I remember those. We had one of those.
But he had different stuff, you know, he had, cottage cheese, he had, different milk, chocolate milk, cottage cheese, butter.
This here is a tire off the 1501 drive wheel tire. Right there. And then this is some of the wooden patterns that he made. This is for truck frame. Might be for 1503. Here's another wooden pattern. I don't know that. Let's see. Yep, 1503 truck mock-up. Okay, he made it out of wood first, and then he made patterns that had stuff casted up.
We just rescued and bought off an auction a Becker, a wooden horse-drawn Becker milk wagon. And we can't bring it here. There's no place to put it. But Tom Rose begged us to purchase this thing so that it could be, and it's still got all the Becker writing on it. It's kind of faded, but you can still see it.
Your truck, right?
Yeah, some days.
Tom Rose.
Oh, Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, the Tom.
Me, Tom, yeah. I know, I promised you we'd leave at 3 o'clock, so. Okay,
Hey, good to see you. Take care. You're leaving
next week, Hershey. Week after Hawaii.
Okay.
2.5 weeks of Hawaii. Then a week to Alaska. And I'll be around much.
Can I come along?
It's going to be in storage at his place for the foreseeable future until we can figure something out. But it is part of the heritage of the Becker dairy farm, and we've got one of the larger milk cans here as well that were given to us. People have been very generous with us on a lot of stuff.
Does this signal?
Yeah, that lights up if you push the buttons, and I think it might be plugged in. Yeah.
Doesn't
Green, yellow, red.
doesn't stay on, but
Yeah,
okay.
you just have to hold it in. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Amber and red. Try me.
We have a lot of other accessories that are stored, or trapped, I should say, over in the trailers on the other side. Eventually, someday, we'll get everything out, figure out what we're going to do.
Problem is, those trailers are so old that they got roll-up doors for the back, and they're so bad shape that if we never did open the door up, we'd never get them closed. They'd fall apart, and then we'd have to hurry up and make up some kind of doors to close them up before nighttime.
Right.
Dan Espy had done the first CNS video, the one that's up there. I don't know. Did you acquire one of those?
Yes, I did. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, yes.
And we were going to go back to Dan and see if he wanted to do an update, and found out that tragically both him and his wife were killed in a car crash
Oh my gosh.
near their home. And they have a daughter, they have a son, and we haven't been successful at finding them, because what we wanted to do was to try to get the rights to continue producing it, or even updating it. Our man Pete, who was our webmaster, would have liked to have updated, because the most current thing that was in there was when I still had brown hair. And when I was interviewed in here, I'm thinking it was in the early 2000s that actually came out.
That sounds about right. I know it's, I want to say 2002, but I'm not exactly sure what the date on it is. But
specifically, the release on it was 2005.
Oh, 2005.
Yeah.
Okay.
So much more has happened here since 2005. So when you look at it and you look at what he projected as current, That's quite a long time ago, you know.
Well, it's almost 20 years now.
Yeah, almost 20 years, you know. So we want to do a version of an update too. We have quite a bit of raw footage that Pauline sent to us. When Pauline was very generous, she sent everything to Phillipsburg. Through the United States mail, we got package after package after package from Florida, and we started distributing it. We try to get as much of it here as we could, you know. We still have yet more to put out, just don't have the space for it right now here. We are lacking in space in this building here. We've got everything that's in here now is about all we can handle. And if people want to bring us some, a lot of times I have to discourage people, and I have to take a real good look at what it is that they wanted to give, because we just don't have the place for it anymore. Problem with the books in the library too, it's the same thing. People are emptying out their libraries that will belong to their dad or their granddad, and then we've got all these books, and we try to maintain something that's relative to Hunterdon, Warren, and the Lehigh Valley, and try to limit it to that. But they give us so much stuff, and it's hard to tell people no, because we don't have the space. So we've been putting them out for donation. People want to come in here during an event. This last event we had in September, my wife Meg was running the gift shop, and she was busy all day. She couldn't get out from behind that counter, maybe once or twice all day. So it's a good thing, you know. It's a good thing what we have. The stuff that we have for sale is not stuff that you'll find in your typical railroad museum. Like if you go to Steamtown or Strasburg or something, and you find all this high-priced merchandise that's hot off the press and everything. We don't deal that way. Everything we have is all secondhand stuff that we've acquired, so we can sell it off very cheaply. You know, maybe an interesting footnote to how we operate here. This section of town is called the Flats. This is probably the part of Phillipsburg that houses the people with the lower level of income. And when we first started running the train, the directors were putting a $2 price on the ticket ride to ride the train. Then we decided after not even a year that we were probably doing the wrong thing, because some of the people here didn't have the money. So we changed the way we did it. We decided that everything here was going to be free, and if you wanted to give a donation, there was a pretzel jar both at the ticket window and inside the building here. We've done much better that way, because a lot of these people that are locals here, they hear the horn blow, they know the train is running, and they come running over in a flock, and they want to ride the train. Well, that might be the only entertainment a kid's going to get all day, all week, all year. It's free, you know. We had a little boy that used to come ride the train. He'd fall asleep on the train. He'd be on the train all day, and he'd be asleep. We lulled him to sleep. He was in a secure place. He didn't have a pair of shoes to his name. My wife would send him home. She'd say, you got to go home and get a pair of shoes, because you're going to cut your feet open here. He'd come back a half an hour later, still no shoes. So she'd say, no, you got to go back home again. You got to get shoes. Come back with shoes. He'd come back a half an hour later, no shoes. And my wife would say to him, why don't you have shoes? He goes, I don't own a pair of shoes. I don't have shoes. And so he would ask me very sheepishly, do you have any trains I could have? So I went home and I grabbed a couple of scrappy HO plastic trains that I didn't need anymore and gave them to him. That meant something to this poor little kid. And he'd come back, every time he'd come back here, he'd have one of those engines that I gave him in his hands. And the engine was clean when I gave it to him, and the engine had his version of weathering after 2 or 3 or 4 times that he'd come back here. But like a little girl clutches a doll for security, this little boy would clutch this little plastic cheap locomotive as his security. All I would say sometimes to Glenn is just blow the horn. You blow the horn a couple times, they're going to know we're here, and next thing you know, the kids are all here. Well, of course, that's way back when. Those kids are all grown up. That little boy has come back to me now as an adult man with a wife and a child. And he remembers everything to a T that we did way back 20-some years ago. That's the whole idea about having a good attraction. You want to have an attraction that appeals to people, both financially and emotionally. What they do here, we give them something very simple, like a train ride. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Come to the ticket window, ticket agent and get on the train, you get your ticket punched just like you would on a real train, and off we go. And it does wonders for people, and so many have come back. We've got this one couple that comes back every year. They're from the Stroudsburgs. They come back every year. They've got children. The one girl, she brought an infant. We had a picture of it in one of our newsletters. The baby was 2 weeks old. She came here with the baby in swaddling clothes, put her on the train, came back with this child at about age 8 and made sure we knew it was her, and then came back last summer. As a matter of fact, I remember it happened right here where I'm sitting. She came in with this teenage girl, and she said to us, "This is the little girl that I had in my arms, 15 years ago, 16 years ago. Now she's a young girl in high school." So that's rewarding for us. I have the greatest crew of people here. I could not ask for a nicer bunch of people, men and women alike. Everybody's dedicated. I often compare this experience to if you've ever watched a bunch of ants building an anthill. They're all working towards building the anthill. No one ant is looking for glory, and they all work towards the good of the whole operation. And that's how Phillipsburg Railroad Historians is. That's how we are. And I'm blessed to be a part of this organization. That's it.
You didn't see, he never, don't remember the passion cards.
So this is what year now?
2001 first Christmas train. I'm surprised that we even decided to do a Christmas train that early in our history. I mean, we only started opening to the public in 2000, so this was only the second year we were open, and we actually were running a Christmas train, which was just amazing. Yeah, and this was the actual date that they came to see us, September 22nd, 2002.
Beckers.
Yeah. That was great. That was a great day. There were a lot of people that came that day because we were celebrating the closing of the Centerville and Southwestern in Roseland. We were celebrating its closing. And for some reason, there was a lady in Roseland who ran the local newspaper there. Her name escapes me. And I'll stay in touch with her, and she apparently had advertised that there was going to be an event here celebrating the end of the railroad in Roseland, and all these people showed up here from Roseland. Bada, the one man Bada who worked for Gene for many, many years, he showed up. The excitement of everybody here. Now you can look here and you can see the anticipation and the excitement of my members just seeing him in at the throttle of the 1503. It was just amazing. The whole event was just amazing. And we sat and we chatted, as Glenn had mentioned. That was one of the most interesting, unique chats we had ever had. And there he is operating the train. That's my wife took that picture. But we had a lot of people from Roseland show up that day, and they recognized Gene and Pauline right away. They knew them right away. They recognized them right away. Yep. That's the way I like to remember the two of them. Happy at the front of their locomotive. That's the way I like to say that this story is like a love story. That she came to the farm as a young teenage girl in search of a job. and he hired her to work. And they fell in love, right? And stayed together all these years. You know, it's a wonderful, wonderful story.
There's always, you know, if you don't dream, nothing gets accomplished.
Right? Yeah. And dream stuff can be deemed crazy. I know that from the Lackawanna cutoff. I know that from first-hand experience. Wish I had $1 for every time I was called crazy. But it has to be a dream, and sometimes it may not be a dream that many people think, oh, you're crazy. That's just pie in the sky.
Well, some of us referred to this as the saving of the dream. And that was, you know, this was Becker's dream years ago. And whatever we do is we're trying to save part of that dream that he originally had.
When he was here that one day, was it 2002? I mean, did he seem to be elated? What was his frame of mind on that day? Because were you here that
I was
day?
here, yeah.
You were here. What, if you can gauge that, I know it's sort of asking for an opinion.
I had a sense that day. Nobody had told me, but
No charge now.
and
And
it came down to like we had kind of
Well, we don't let them stay on if we have
deemed this as like the
But
30th anniversary of the closing of the farm. And
as long as they don't
part of me
the
said,
first
"Gee, I wonder
or the
wonder
last.
if,
Those
Gene
are
Becker
ones everybody wants.
And when I got here, somebody says, "You won't believe who's here." I said, "Did Gene come up?" He goes, "Yeah." So I kind of had a sense. So yeah, and he seemed quite pleased with to see everything again.
And he also got to
operate that,
which must have been a thrill for him.
And I was pleased too because I actually had one of my live steam locomotives that I completed on display here, and I got to be able to show them. Yeah, which part of growing up riding at Becker Farm was part of the thing getting into live steam.
So he could be, he was in a sense, the spark.
Could have been a spark.
You know, of that.
I got a lot of other sparks growing up. So, you know, but
yeah, we all have those sparks. Some of them catch, some of them don't. But, no, I was curious about that because it's one thing. You don't. When something like that happens, you don't always get that second chance where, in a sense, somebody comes along. I mean, a lot of somebody's come along, and through their efforts are able to basically put Humpty Dumpty back together. Well, thank you for watching part 44A on the Lackawanna Cutoff. Look forward to part 45 on the Lackawanna Cutoff. So when was the last time this signal would have been where we're bringing it to?
This is interesting because it was taken up before the end of the railroad, because that part of the loop was taken up in 1967. So this was actually surplus well before the rest of the railroad went kaput. And I think Keith acquired it at one of the farm sales. So hasn't been back there since 1967.
So by my calculation, it's 57 years. Wow. The sequence of this is signal 1.
This is signal 11A. He numbered the signals sequentially from Centerville. So like 1 was at Centerville Yard.
Yeah.
I think on the signal bridge.
The signal bridge was signal 1.
And so he went all the way out. 11A was the last signal on the railroad, all the way on the Peachtree Loop.
Does the A have any significance?
Yeah, so There were two on either side of the track, one for each direction.
11 and 11A.
Oh,
There's no 11B.
there was no 11B. It was 11 and 11A. So we don't know which side of the track this one was on, but it was in the location, general location of where we're going to go. Still fits. After 50-something years.